Let's get started.
Okay, so it's a Danish pastry with a sweet, flaky bread that can be full of surprises, but you can also fill them up with some fun flavors to delight the sweet tooth.
Yeah, that's right. And Laura Elle T Thomsen, she's the goddess of good eats from the Culinary Center of Kansas City, is here to share her family recipe. First off, before we get started, where did you get the name Goddess of Good Eats?
Oh, well, I've been cooking for friends and taking treats to work for years and years, and it just sort of evolved into...
Just happened.
Yeah,
then.
everybody knew I usually had good food, so...
Well, it's not every day I get to work with the goddess. Oh, that's kidding. I work with Belinda every single day. See, that's how you score points with your co-host.
That's nice.
All right. Well, what makes this a recipe that you like to share and share with people that come to the Culinary Center?
Great question. It's my grandmother's recipe.
Oh, cool.
So it's a family tradition, and I think it's important for us to pass down our traditions and to share, keep those things alive, the memories alive, and you know, food memories are so,
They're
the
so
smells
good,
and the
yeah.
tastes just bring us back. So
And it always seems to be a dessert that follows. And I know in our family, my grandmother's cookies are still made by my mom, and my wife makes them too. So and you're totally right. As soon as you take that first bite, you recall
you're back.
You're back in the farmhouse or in the kitchen or whatever.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's get started here. Let's talk about fillings. What's the different fillings that you guys use?
Well, actually, that's great. I plated up the almond filling. Almond filling is pretty traditional, and I do make my own filling from scratch, so just so you know, that's a special treat today. And then I've got an apricot filling. This is what the pastries look like. We're going to put one together here in just a few minutes, but this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. There's a nice apricot in there, and then nice bright color on the cherry here. So there's a cherry filling.
Oh,
Fruit
fantastic.
fillings are very popular,
Yeah.
and of course, nuts, you know, you can't go wrong with a few nuts.
No, well. So, is the Danish kringle? What's the Danish kringle, and what are the different types of kringle that you can make?
Well, that's a great question. This has actually got kind of a dough, but there's kind of dough that you can use where you're folding it over and doing lots of butter layers, and it's really a flakier pastry. This is flaky, but it's a little more cakey, and I think it evolved because my grandma was on the farm, and it was a quicker thing to get on the table and get out to everybody.
Rather than doing all the folding and everything.
Yeah,
just
this is
boom,
sort of
boom.
It's probably evolved into a get it on the table and type of recipe. But.
Well, I don't want to keep you from showing us here. Let's go ahead and get to business.
All right, great. Well, I'll tell you, you've got to put plenty of flour down for this dough because it is a sticky dough. Make sure your rolling pin is covered well and your fingers so that when you pop this out.
Oh, it's pretty sticky.
It's a little sticky. See how sticky this is?
There, yeah.
So I'll probably put a little more down so we don't have any trouble with that. And then a little over the top. Start in the center and roll out. You're going to make a nice long rectangle. And you got to work pretty quickly so the dough doesn't get too warm.
Yeah. Will it start to rise or something if it gets warmer?
No, it just gets a little bit trickier to work with. And you'll see in a second here, it's easy to roll it out flat.
Yeah, it's
like
really
this,
really easy to...
but then transferring it, the important part to remember is to transfer it to your baking sheet before you start getting too much design on it.
And is that greased up and everything?
It's already greased. I brought it here greased, so.
Perfect.
Fold it into quarters, shake off the extra, put the center right in the center of this part, so when you open it up,
it folds out perfect
it folds out perfectly.
And that flour helps it so it doesn't stick to itself.
You can also do two of them side by side once you get the hang of it.
Okay.
And then
we just mix in our fillings here.
Yep, the filling, I went ahead and made the cherry filling. Important thing about your fillings, if you're cooking up the fruit fillings especially, make them ahead of time. And so they have time to set up and chill, because you don't want to put a hot filling and lose all those bits of butter melted in.
Oh yeah, because it would just melt the butter in there,
compromise
wouldn't
it, yep.
Why is that important? I know that a lot of dishes that I've made before always has the chunks of butter that form in the dough here before you bake it.
Keeping the chunks of butter in there and keeping them cold is part of what helps keep the flake in there, because as that melts, it goes in and then leaves the air pocket, which is nice and flaky.
Flaky.
So you spread this out down the strip. My mom always liked to fold the sides in first because she liked the extra doughy part. I don't, so I bring the edge in first.
So this is your influence on the family recipe then, is folding the...
See, it's always evolving. It's kind of what you like. And I'm just going to divide this in half for the heck of it and show you two different ways. You can fold it over easily, just like that. That's the fold we've got there. But if you want to work like we did with the almond... do like a little woven? You can go straight across.
Oh, cool.
Come across this way.
Get ornamental with your dough.
Yeah.
This seems like a great fun to get the kids involved with it too, right? So they can always have fun doing this type of stuff too.
Absolutely, and I do have a class I'm teaching right after the holidays in December, last week of December, and it's great to bring the kids and the whole family can come and do this.
Well, we're running out of time here, so real quickly, how long do we put that in the oven for, and what temperature do we bake it at?
You bake it at about 375 or 400 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes, depending on what you've got for how big it is, I guess.
Well, she is the goddess of good eats from the Culinary Center. She's made the dough. We're going to throw it in the oven, hopefully have some fun treats by the end of the show.
Yep,
Thank you very much. Belinda, over to you.
Well, Bill, save us some of those. Okay,
No,
and
it's all
get